There's also something, I mean, just like in this whole process and like, I don't know, the whole thing with the telephone and the exquisite corpse is like, just by passing it around, people are able to kind of like read interpretations or meaning into like what the like seed idea was, and at each step of the process. So there's a cool version of that kind of like layered meanings or like multiple readings of an idea or a text that can kind of be present at the same time.
Yeah. It's very, very liberating to have all of those dimensions present and not have the responsibility of having to sort of represent, you know, all of that oneself.
It's almost like the myth of a genius is toxic and awful.
I think we have arrived there if we hadn't arrived there already, for sure. Yeah.
reminder, not a thing will last. Reality is best and counties past. Beyond blue skies, so hold this moment fast.
Here we are, living in this body. I can't live in your body. I can't live in your body. I can't live without my body. And yet,
What's amazing, what I find hilarious about that whole process is like I basically like wrote a chamber piece thinking like, okay, like I've played with Arkora for like a few years now, like we read notated music, this is like what I should do. And if I knew, I always knew going into it that like I wasn't married to anything that I was putting on there, because I knew that the idea was to like take scissors to it and like chop it and move it around and get rid of things. Like I knew that going in.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's like so detailed and someone gets a score and Sharon's like, oh, I need to play on the score. And how come I can't play anything with like what anyone else is sending me? Like Sharon would send me so many emails and I would just like in the kindest way possible, just try to be like, yeah, I don't really know like what's happening. You just
there's a couple moments where it felt like there's like there's a sort of an imitation between like the synth and what you're playing that was in the score, but I'm just curious to know if you were going by ear on that or following the score there.
Actually, that one that sounded like it should be there, and then I looked at the score later, and it was there.
And it was there.
Yeah.
I also feel like I might have gone. I don't even think this is crazy. By this point, I mean, I looked at the score, but I think even by the time I got it, there was a lot that just like didn't correspond to there.
Yeah.
And I think I just like didn't do anything from the score. I think I sort of just like, I did everything in Logic and just not listening to it.
No, you didn't.
I mean, you played one of the melodies once.
That's true.
Once.
Yeah,
One
that
time.
was just what I was hearing.
Yeah, I mean, like where it has ended up is like so much better than what I would have notated anyway, and like it's Yeah, it's like some real like magic in there.
For myself, and I feel like I can hear this in the way people contributed, is, it's just kind of like, here's so this is like a vertebra. This is a vertebrate creature. And here's the skeleton of it. And like evolution can do whatever, like the weather will change, the continents will shift, but it's got to have this spine. And that just like gave us all a spine to hang the evolution over. Like, my process around interpreting it was like, I could do this line, but I'll be screaming up there. I could do this line, but I'll be croaking down there. So I could, and then afterwards, just listening through to what was already there and just being like, oh, hey, actually, I don't think my role is to do those things. I think I have to try to think about like what would be the purpose of a human voice.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you gave it a title before you sent it out, right?
I did.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting to see how just those 4 words kind of somehow contributed to a character, I think, that we extrapolated somehow.
I was thinking about, I guess, obviously like pandemic feelings about like apparent frozenness. Yeah. But within that, actually it's still moving. Things are still changing.
Oh yeah.
So, so like being in isolation, like living in this moment. So like I'm sitting here in my house, I'm not leaving my house. And yet the moment, and yet time is still moving. Like even if it feels like this moment is frozen in time, it's not.
Right.
There's movement. And then, just the like, here we are living on this planet, which feels motionless.
Yeah.
And moves, and then here we are living in this body. And I feel like, depending on people's state of health and state of life, and I think probably for me also having like suffered a loss recently, this idea of, like being trapped in one's body, having no other possibilities than the one body that you have. And yet you can dance, right? So.
Yep.
Standing in a doorway, looking down on Queen Street, and trying to see tomorrow past the fall. I smell the fires of autumn of all the years to come, and the burn of nothing matters. Hear it all, my mask, my keys, voices whispering. It's raining all around my eyes. In my head, the fairer skies of yesterday still cloud my lonely mind as sirens blare and insane clairvoyance looking for the light, familiar yet strange. Nothing's different, yet everything has changed. In the continuum, out there in the darkness, the vast and holy darkness, the electric campfires extinguish one by one. Borders are dissolving on some quantum level. How will you greet them when they come? Be brave, be new. There's nothing we can't do. Along the black horizon, a mountain halo like a sail, silhouetted in the night, grows ever taller. And I recall a song I never knew, and I hear you humming it like some hymn of the midnight hour. It's here, it's gone, the epiphany in the dawn at liminal junction. At red light in the early morn, with Mercury and retrograde, and the streets quiet momentarily, I drive home from Union Station and see a pale face in a window. This life is not what I expected, it occurs to me.
I have such images from that, just
Oh man.
kind of like noir film, walking in like an empty, rainy street.
Yeah, that's like 100% what I imagine. It's like walking through like a T.S. Eliot poem.
You know, it was like a foggy kind of like, you know, nighttime with light streaming from just a few certain places. That kind of, I was getting that kind of visual and just, yeah, playing with that.
In that listen, I feel like I had the distinct impression of just like walking through a dream. All of your parts, like especially Sharon's and Dan's, as being signals from afar somehow. Like there's like waves coming in from somewhere else that are sort of subliminally registering on the consciousness somehow. Whereas what Brendon is doing and what Tova is singing is sort of, that's the water that the listener is in, and these other things are just like these little threads. I realized that I did have some baggage going into it, I think, and I didn't realize till after, because when I was writing those words, I did have some kind of rhythm in mind, and I'm really so glad that you didn't pick up on that baggage, Tova. Like, thank you.
Oh, so that's interesting. So I guess
Yeah.
hearing that, my next question is going to be, so did I really challenge your intention by accident?
You definitely you went a direction that I never would have expected with it. Totally unexpected. But I think that the lyric demanded that. I think what you know, I don't know, what you did feels right. And of course I can't hear it any other way now. And it's beautiful performance too. I mean, just like gorgeous. Yeah.
This was a crazy one to get because it was just like, here is a vocal.
Right.
Just like, do something with this. And
No,
it was
I
a
feel like the whole
beautiful
thing was
vocal.
kind of like building a cake from the ice.
Yeah.
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 So Brendon, talk about the harmony. Like, how did you find the harmony in this song?
How did I do this part? So I started by like sampling your voice and sampling part of the viola part. And that's the basis of all those pads that are in
That's
background.
what that is. Okay. Yeah, those are great.
And I think I basically just did a couple of improvised passes.
Like, I was trying to follow your part, right?
Yeah, and you did. It's awesome. Yeah.
But I still don't know what the actual harmonies are. And it's been like, and which is totally not how I normally work. And it's been awesome. Another thing, but out of this year, and this project is kind of an embodiment of that, is like freeing the mind from like needing to like see what the plan is.
I found it just like thrilling and awe-inspiring to find this like edifice of harmony Brendon had like, it was like this just like some kind of like, I guess it was kind of like looking at like a millipede body with no legs suddenly growing all its legs.
Again, like if I was doing this live, like I would be more reactionary, but like given this circumstance, I was able to like listen to it a bunch, and I started just choosing more moments that I wanted to play. And actually it was like sort of, I wanted to fill more of the spaces that existed rather than like play over top of what was already there.
I was telling Benton as soon as I got this, and I listened to it, I don't know, a few times, and I told him, I don't know if there's anything I could add. It already sounded like so complete and perfect. And like there was already this like visual imagery and the sound imagery. And and this one I did, I don't know if struggle is the right word, but like I had to really force myself to think externally from what I would normally do, I guess, to find another angle to add something, because it was beautiful when I got it. I don't want to touch it and do something bad to it.
Right.
So it was kind of the angle that I was.
You definitely didn't do anything bad to it. I mean,
no,
like,
that's for sure.
Whew.
Mm.
Tova, what was your experience with getting it back? And I mean, because it did seem like you had sort of a plan.
Well, I mean, my initial reaction when I got back what everyone had done in these kind of MP3 rough mixes that we'd send each other was, wow, it exists. It's a whole world. It's like, because really the way it lived in me was extremely abstract, you know, and what lived in me was really just a feeling of like, here is a body process that is, you know, underpins and kind of in some ways manipulates our reactions as humans to a variety of situations.
This was one where, like, when I heard this latest version also, I was like, kind of like we were talking about earlier, where there was like a thing I had been kind of imagining, but was kind of like, I don't know. And then something completely different was read into it in a way that I really appreciated, actually. But it makes me like now kind of self-conscious about like just how much I played. I was like, I needed to maybe leave more space.
No, you know what? I'm just, you know, here we are at the third of 4 pieces.
Yeah.
Noticing the outsized influence of the second person.
Yeah.
Right? Like the originator, and then there's round 2 ends up making the structure.
This was one because I was the first one in that. And I remember actually like, this is one where like when I was writing it, because I wanted to hit all the timings, I actually did like write a score out for myself. And there's like a bunch of other parts that I remember writing that I just like didn't include for whatever reason. It's like I wrote like drum parts and like other things.
Oh, really?
I also kind of just like wrote a piece for this and then only sent my guitar part from it.
I am so curious.
Yeah.
I think what I was really hoping was that it would just provide like as kind of like a well-defined but neutral holding space for expression of whatever crisis was going on kind of in each of our lives.
Right.
So that you could just like map like, here's my adrenaline, here's what I'm like, here's the sound of my adrenaline on this trajectory. And then at resolution, when it switches to oxytocin, like what are the turbulent denouement? What's the turbulent undoing of that?
It's funny because I think some of that was kind of what led me in like the Bronca direction, because so much of like those pieces are just these huge builds to these big releases.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, but like, and there's a sweetness to the release, but I think there's also a sort of understanding that like the end is not the end. Like this is just the birth of the next adrenaline climb.
The scenario unfolds just as we feared. Was there a plan? What was the plan? What was the plan? What was the plan? The plan, the plan, the plan, the plan. What was the plan? Opposition. Opposite to what? I turn around. But no. You turn in turn.
So cathartic. This is all the sunshine I got, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Sorry to be a downer. Oh man, it was so funny. Like this is another one, like getting the stuff back, like with the form there. And I was like, oh no, I really did just like. I feel like my experience listening to a lot of my ideas that I generate sometimes, I'll come back and like, oh really, I really just wanted to write like a Nine Inch Nails song. I think it's like the specifically like, it was like that MIDI, the microtonal MIDI guitar thing. And then like I did a bunch of other shit to it, or excuse me, I did a bunch of other stuff to it. That like
Yeah, that's that thing actually.
that which thing?
The Lumatone behind
The
it.
Lumatone?
That's-
Oh.
Yeah, and that's run through like an arpeggiator basically with just kind of octaves.
I think I was the last person to contribute to that. And
Yep.
I was just like, this is so amazing. This does not need a melody.
So basically, Brendon sent us some building blocks like Legos, kind of, or Tinker Toys. Like here's an idea, here's an idea, here's an idea.
Yeah.
Put them together in whatever way it makes sense. It wasn't trying to end with the apocalypse so much as showing a cyclical nature of events and time, and questioning whether we have to like repeat our lessons if we don't learn them.
Benton was the kind of like the Moog sound, like the true, like the moo, like the thing that's the, like the siren sound. That actually, like a lot of what you did in the synth part really surprised me when I got it, because I was just kind of like, I don't know, here's some grooves. And this is again this thing of like this like kind of apocalyptic thing came back to me in like a way that was like, it was interesting, like what, I don't know, I think what got read into each iteration of it, and like, and then how that, because Tova, you were the last step, like you really were just like, all right, this is like what this is, I'm just going to make this explicit.
Totally.
When I heard that, like that apocalyptic kind of sound, I was not, I suppose I can also say I was not really inclined to sing a song. You know, I was more inclined to just try to talk in the most broadly applicable terms about the phenomenon of like going to your drawer of worst case scenario contingency plans. In like the before times, I would like think about in terms of like, I'll probably never need a plan for this worst case scenario, but like I kind of, for reasons that's probably say something not especially flattering about me, I want to think about what that worst case scenario would be and what I would do. But nonetheless, the situation this year on a lot of levels for me, it was a situation of like, oh, that plan I kept in a drawer, now's the time. Might have been a product of generational trauma that I had all that laid out beforehand, but nonetheless, my generational trauma was right. There's, you know, like there's just been such a resurgence of the sort of the dark underbelly of human nature on a lot of levels. You know, I don't know if Sharon, if you've been like directly impacted by the rising kind of anti-Asian sentiment, but directly, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard to avoid that, yeah.
Do you do that thing of like wondering like what you would do in a worst case scenario?
Oh, absolutely. It's part of why we moved. And I don't know, at the beginning of the pandemic, I don't know how everyone else was feeling, but I was watching all these like homesteading videos and like, you know, how am I going to sustain myself, and just watching my own income just disappear, and you know, like how am I going to survive? And So there was that part of it for sure. And then there was absolutely the runaway feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, New York last March had a feeling of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like there's different sizes of apocalypses, right? And like there's
Yeah.
always something kind of, it's funny, like as we talked about kind of in like the first, like the conversation around like, and yet it moves, like still that as much as it feels like worlds are ending, and in some cases they are, like there's still stuff on the other side of that. There's still like, you still gotta live even after whatever else happens. As long as you're alive, you gotta just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an incredible experience doing a project like this, and
It's been, it's been-
wild to like not be together doing it.
Oh,
Anyway,
it was a product of its times, but it still makes me want to get together with all of you and make this music at some point together. So
No, it's a really nice band feeling. It feels like a band.
Yeah,
thank you for all your time today, and thank you to Open Ears for releasing it. That is my shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Involved with that,
definitely.
with the festival. But yes, let's do it again real soon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay, y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Take
Take
care,
care, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.